Welcome to the Fleet Geeks podcast. We're here to help develop fleet and transport professionals. Do you want to progress and develop your skills and knowledge? We promise to bring lively conversation and debate around interesting issues and keep you bang up to date with changes in our awesome industry. The Fleet Geeks are a community of professionals, and if you enjoy the podcast, why not join the discussion for free in the Fleet Geek community over on Facebook.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Fleet Geeks podcast. You'll see, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see the fan in the background because as I record this late June, we are having a bit of a heat wave, which is lovely, right? I'm not complaining at all. Hopefully you can't pick it up too much on the audio recording if you're listening on the podcast. I'm here today to talk about psychological safety and understanding what psychological safety is, particularly in application to you guys as fleet operators. So I recently interviewed Tom Geraghty on the Half Dozen Things podcast. So if you're interested, please do switch over to that podcast at some point and have a listen to that. But in the meantime, I wanted to just share some of the insights that I gained from that to help support you with understanding what psychological safety is, how it works, and why it's important in your business. So first of all, what is psychological safety? Well, it's that shared belief that a team is safe for interpersonal risk taking. And there's a climate where individuals and people feel comfortable being themselves, suggesting ideas, asking questions, admitting failures, admitting mistakes, providing feedback without any fear of judgment or negative consequences to their image, their status, or their career itself. Okay, so really, really vital. And the reason that's important is because it helps foster an environment of transparency, trust, open communication, and that helps enable learning, increased innovation, and improves engagement and team performance as well. So those businesses that have got high psychological safety within their teams are more resilient, they're more adaptable, they're definitely more innovative, lots of diverse perspectives because lots of different people are willing to share ideas and to take interpersonal risks essentially by making suggestions and to throw ideas about. So really, really important, right? Really, really important. And I'm sure we've all worked in those places previously that have low levels of psychological safety, usually due to weak leadership, often due to people, sort of leaders, managers getting frustrated, not listening, not paying attention, not wanting to be open to suggestion of ideas. So, we can tell there are signals, there are things we can do to tell if an organization has got high levels of psychological safety. So how do we tell? Well, how we can tell that it's present is that there's open and honest communication. We've got high levels of engagement and participation against team members. There's a willingness for us to admit mistakes, learn from them, develop from them, investigate them, understand how it went wrong, as well as diverse ideas and perspectives that are shared and respected by different team members who also give constructive feedback and receive feedback positively when it's provided too. So ways we can do that, we can do surveys, we can do feedback tools, 360 reviews with leaders. There's lots of different things we can do to help measure this and see how it works. Some of the common barriers, for example, for psychological safety might be fear of punishment, fear of humiliation, people making mistakes, voicing opinions, being shut down, being closed down, being made to look stupid.
Hello, it's Shani from Flagship Partners. We are really proud to sponsor the Fleet Geeks podcast. If you need expert advice or training for your fleet business, make Flagship Partners your first choice. We are really excited to announce the launch of our Transport Manager Academy. With expert development for fleet leaders, we offer fully accredited initial Transport Manager CPC training, CPC refresher, and operator license awareness training, as well as mentoring, support, and professional development beyond the qualification. Our vision is to develop elite fleet professionals.
People who are dominating and disrespectful in their behaviour with team members, team leaders, those kinds of things. Certainly, I've got experience of working with companies where you have particular individuals who really dominate all the decision making. They might be leaders, they might not be. Sometimes team members can dominate leaders and managers, and sometimes they can push their own agenda, and sometimes that can be a challenge as well. So or other common barriers are lack of trust between team members, poor communication, and unclear expectations. Unclear leadership can lead to lack of psychological safety because people don't really understand what the expectations are, or they might get dealt with in different ways depending on who they are in the organization. And ultimately, a culture that discourages risk-taking and innovation. This is the way we've always done it, is one of the most frightening sentences that I will hear when I ask questions, when I go and meet with potential customers and businesses, and I speak to leaders, I speak to team members, and they just sigh and go, well, that's the way it's always been. That's the way we've always done it. And that's always a challenging, a point at which I challenge people's perspectives. So how can we encourage psychological safety? How can we help create that environment for it? Well, one of the things that leaders can do is model vulnerability and openness. Okay, so being open, being transparent about the mistakes they've made, being vulnerable to say that their team might have better ideas than they have, they might be more knowledgeable than they are. Ultimately, a leader isn't about being the cleverest person in the room. It's about being able to facilitate a room of people, to be able to enable greatness in the people who you're leading. It's good to encourage and value diverse perspectives. There's no such thing as a bad idea, right? Because what happens is ideas lead to outcomes. Ideas lead to solutions over time, right? So one of the things that we need to do is then evidence and back and take those suggestions and take them on board and trial them and test them and see how they work. Making sure that we provide good, positive developmental feedback and recognize the effects of the impact that people's suggestions have. So making a note of any suggestions and then recognizing the impact that those suggestions have made by giving that positive developmental feedback to say, you suggested this and we tried this and this was the outcome, this was the result. And being really vocal and being really transparent about those will really help to encourage psychological safety in organizations. Helping to create a non-judgmental environment where everything is seen as a learning opportunity and mistakes are seen as learning opportunities is a really, really positive thing that leaders can do in their organizations to help encourage psychological safety. And making sure that we actively listen to team members and address their concerns promptly, making sure we deal with those things are really, really important. So those are some of the things that you could be doing. I've talked about, it's a whistle-stop tour, right? I've talked about some of the things that might be warning signs or health factors, health concerns around the lack of psychological safety. And I've suggested some things that we can do to help promote it. It can take a lot of time to build psychological safety in a team. And if it's lacking, it's important to make sure that we address those issues and make sure we address those conflicts. But I hope that this Whistle Stop podcast has been useful for you. If you're interested and you want to learn more, then please do switch over and have a listen to the Half Dozen Things podcast. It's with Tom Geraghty, really interesting chap, super expert in this area. And hopefully that podcast will be really valuable to you as well. Anyway, I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please share with your friends and colleagues too. Join us for free on Facebook with the Fleet Geeks community for transport and fleet managers. Fleet Geeks offers ongoing professional development, networking and mentoring too. So get in touch with me, Pete Rushmer, on any social media platform to find out more.